This week you guys are going on a classic video game odyssey with Uncle Ben, and we're going to learn how to play the star theme from Super Mario Brothers. Hey there, hunks and foxes, and welcome to this week's installment of Weekend Wankshop. Here's your good buddy, Uncle Ben. You know what a lot of you guys might not know is before I became a guitar guy, I was a real live Game Boy. I spent the majority of my childhood in the late 80s and early 90s inside, hunkered around the TV with my Nintendo Entertainment System, playing some classic video games like Contra, and Super Mario, and Ninja Gaiden, and all kinds of other good stuff. As a result of the thousands of hours of exposure to those games I got when I was a kid, a lot of the soundtracks to those are just burned into my memory permanently. A lot of those games had killer soundtracks too. The Mega Man games always had really cool music. The soundtrack for the NES Silver Surfer game is insane. Be sure to listen to some of that stuff sometime. But of course, some of the most classic and memorable of all those games came from the Mario series. Today we're going to be learning the short but sweet theme that plays every time Mario or Luigi would grab one of those invincibility stars. It's really cool, kind of hard to play fingerstyle sort of thing. But before we start getting into it, let's hear it again at step Koopa speed. And don't forget to find the full tab on my Instagram page at Ben Eller Guitars. So this theme is made up of two basic chords, a D minor 7 and a C major 7, and it's going to be kind of divided up as a low bass part on the bottom and a high chord part on the top that kind of combine to make up the sound of those two chords. So what you're going to need to do here for the D minor 7 is to plant down your third finger on the 13th B string and put your little finger on the 14th G. That way you have the C and A notes held down. Like that. I'm just going to refer to these little static chord shapes as the high notes. We'll talk about how those kind of line up with some of the bass notes that we play here on the bottom. So again, we got these two fingers planted down right here on 13 and 14. And what I'm going to do is to start off here by playing my first finger on the low E string 10th fret along with those high notes. So I just plucked all three of those notes together right there. Then I'm going to pluck the high notes again. After this, what we're going to do is to play the 12th fret A string with the high notes. So now you have. After this, what you're going to do is to play the 12th fret D string plus the high notes. So now you have. After that, play just the high notes again. Now the next part's a little bit tricky because what we're going to do is this. Okay, this is me playing just the 12th fret A string with my middle finger here. And then what I'm going to do is to roll my middle finger down onto the D string. See how I kind of buckled it like that? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that 12th fret D along with the high notes. Then I'm going to go back to that 12th fret A. And then I'm going to go back to the 12th fret D plus the high notes. So that segment went. So you can kind of look at it as just a lone A string, D string with the high notes, a lone A string, and D string with the high notes again. That's the basic bass part plus chord part that we hear for both chords. I'll play it again a couple times here for you. It's really important to notice that the thumb and the fingers aren't all acting at the same time all the time. That's a real common mistake that beginners have when they play fingerstyle stuff like this, is they want to do everything together all the time, like, just plucking everything together. There's times where it's just a bass note, there's times that it's just a high note, and again, looking closely at the tab will help you decipher that better too. So after we play through all that D minor 7 stuff right there, we're going to move down here to C major 7. Now what we're going to be doing here is the same stuff, bass notes plus high notes, only here's the shape you're going to be using. You're going to plant your little finger down here on the 12th fret G and 12th fret B. So just a little 2-string bar with your little finger like that. Meanwhile, down here below that, your first finger and your ring finger, or your middle finger, whichever one you're more comfortable with, are going to be playing the 8th fret E string, 10th fret A, and 10th fret D. And that's going to be broken down exactly like the same figure that we played for D minor 7. So we're going to play the low E string plus the high notes, then just the high notes. After this, we're going to play A string plus high notes, D string plus high notes, then just high notes again. So far you have. And after this, we're going to play 10th fret A, 10th D with high notes, 10th fret A, 10th fret D with high notes. So that sounds like. And it basically just cycles between those two chords over and over. And I want to give you a little bit of insight too as far as the picking hand goes here. Because what you can start off by doing here is using your thumb for the bass notes and then your first two fingers to play the high notes, you know, like this. But when it gets to the last part, the part that goes A, D plus high notes, A, D plus high notes, you'll see that I'm switching to more of a 4-finger style here, using my thumb and first finger to play those bass notes. That way I can use these two fingers to play the high notes. So let me kind of refresh that again here. I use these three at first. And then for this part, I'm going to switch to a 3-finger style. That way I can just go thumb, all three, thumb, all three for all those parts. So there you go, guys. That one is short, sweet, and instantly recognizable. Kind of like Mario. Let me know if there's any other classic video game stuff you guys would like to see covered here on the channel, because I really love digging through some of those old school 8-bit soundtracks. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. You guys can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Ben Eller Guitars. And also please be sure to go like my Facebook fan page over on facebook.com/Uncle Ben Eller. Do you hear how loud that dog is snoring? I just can't work under these conditions. And also, if you'd like to book some one-on-one Skype lessons with me, you can drop me a line, benellerguitars@gmail.com. We'll talk rates and times and stuff. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Be sure to stay tuned next week for another sick lick. Cheers, guys.